It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
Okay, we've got a question from Big Kahuna on YouTube. Great username. His question is, I am retiring in 5 years, I hope. Where should I be? Cash and safe funds now I'm waiting for them to trend up and to reemerge. And he says he's not rich, his words, and cannot take a 20 to 30% hit. So retiring in 5 years, what do you do right now?
I think it's interesting. There's a misnomer out there that I think a lot of people think, just once again, we cross a threshold. Oh, I guess I'm selling all my stocks now, because that's what I think a lot of people.
And then it's the coffee can.
A lot of people think that you're going to be fully invested, then you cross into this retirement, and then you're fully in cash or liquid. It just doesn't work that way. I think a good context point is everybody's heard of the whole Trinity study and the safe withdrawal rate. A lot of people, if you go read the fine print on that, you realize that whole safe withdrawal rate calculation assumes that you're keeping at least 50% of your assets in what's considered risk on or growth type assets. So just because you cross the threshold of retirement doesn't mean it's going to be complete apple cart turnover to where you go from risky assets to now very conservative. What actually happens, and we talk about this is why when you're younger, we do like the index target retirement funds, because the actual natural way you invest is you have what's called a glide path, meaning that when you're young, you should be very aggressive. Swing for the fences, take advantage of all the volatility because you have decades before any of this catches up to you and you want to maximize the growth. But as you get older, because there's two components, there's creating wealth and then there's keeping wealth. But as you get older, you want to dial down the risk profile. You want to have more asset allocation so that as volatility comes close to you, especially close as you're approaching retirement, that it doesn't derail your entire life and plan that you've been building for the last 20 to 40 years. So that's why I love the fact that somebody like Big Kahuna, who's retiring in 5 years, hopefully you're now at the point to where that plan is taking shape, because 5 years is that point where you better get serious, because you should see the runway up ahead of you and you're trying to figure out how do we land this thing well. And look, we just answered a question on how you hire a financial advisor, but this because we're very important. I think it's very important that we try to give you as best information. But it is definitely such a big decision. This probably is a graduation point to taking the relationship to the next level, because you have one retirement for your one time on this planet to live your best life. Why not bring in somebody who's done this many, many times so they can help protect you and make sure you do this well?
So Brian brought up a great point. There are portions of your portfolio that even when you retire, you need them to last you for 30, 40, maybe 50 years, depending on how old you are and how long you think you'll live. So that is, it's not like this apple cart turnover, but if you are 5 years away from retirement, there are some things you ought to be thinking about. One of those things is our need for cash and risk off or risk reduced assets does change. When you're in the accumulation phase, when you're building, when you're working, you want to have an emergency fund somewhere between 3 to 6 months of liquid expenses so that if something happens, you can provide for that. You can take care of that. As you do get close to retirement, that dynamic changes. You do probably, as you get close to retirement, want to have somewhere between 12 to 18, depending on your circumstance, to maybe more, cash or readily available assets, so that if we do see a market downturn like what we're seeing now, you don't have to make the decision you're thinking about right now where, do I start selling? Do I start getting out of this? So there are some tweaks that, again, if you hire an advisor, they'll start helping you think through that. When you are 5 years away, the question you ought to be asking is, okay, in that first month when I don't get a paycheck again, where's my money going to come from, right? And you need to start solving for that equation. And then the other thing that you can do in this sort of 5-year window is start stress testing your plan. How well have I saved? You said it yourself here, Big Kahuna. I'm not rich and I cannot take a 20 to 30% hit. How do you know that? Have you actually run through what happens if I retire and my portfolio goes down 20%? And what are the likelihood of that happening? And if that does happen, will I be able to rebound? Or if I can't, what do I need to be doing between now and that 5 years so that I can do that? Those are the types of stress tests we talk about when we say test your plan. Because when you get to retirement, you want to have this peace that when you say, I am not going to work tomorrow, I am not going to go earn a paycheck tomorrow. And no matter what the world throws at me, no matter what the economy throws at me, no matter what the fill in the blank throws at me, I know that I have a great plan that's in place that is not just great today, But it will be great when the world starts falling, and then when the sky stops falling and it starts getting better again. My plan is still great.
I thought of two things while you were going through all that.
Love it.
Rebound with a bound. Do you like it? I mean, just go ahead and get that going.
Yeah, he's the head of our marketing team, right? He's the head of our marketing.
I'm the one that came up with this $1 beer. Cost me $88.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But here's the other big observation I had. Big Kahuna. That's such a unique screen name. I want to know if this is the same Big Kahuna that I've been written bikes from down at 30A for the last 5 years. Because every time you go down to that area, Seaside, Watercolor, any of that, there's Big Kahuna bike rentals. So I didn't know if it's the same Big Kahuna. So let us know, Big Kahuna, because we're big fans.